Close your eyes for a moment, and imagine this. You are walking barefoot across a land that feels both familiar and impossibly far away. The ground beneath your toes is hard, pressed by centuries of footsteps, worn by sandals made of straw and wood. The air around you smells faintly of smoke and damp earth. You feel the weight of silence, broken only by the croak of a crow sitting somewhere on the crooked roof of a wooden house. You are no longer in your own world. You have stumbled into feudal Japan. At first you don't even realize it. The village looks small, simple, just a cluster of thatched roofs. Rice paddies stretching toward the horizon, narrow dirt paths winding between fields. But as you step further in, you feel the strangeness press against your skin. The way the people move, the way they bow their heads without speaking, the way the air seems thicker here, as if rules themselves hang heavy in the atmosphere. A man passes by, his back bent beneath the weight of a basket filled with firewood. He doesn't look at you, not because he doesn't see you, but because looking too long, too directly, might be considered rude. In this world, even a glance could mean more than you intend. You raise your hand, as if to greet him, but something in your chest warns you to stop. Already you can sense. This land runs on laws unspoken, customs unwritten, and if you break them even without meaning, the punishment could be more than you can bear. You feel your shoulders tighten, your breath slows. You understand, instinctively, that you would not last long here. The village is quiet, almost too quiet. No hum of machinery, no distant rumble of cars, no chatter of radios or phones, only the faint sound of water trickling through wooden channels, feeding the rice paddies. You'll realize how dependent you are on the noise of your own world, the conveniences, the comfort. Here, every tool is simple. Every meal must be earned by back-breaking labor. Every sip of rice wine costs weeks of sweat. You glance down at your hands. Soft, modern hands that type, swipe, lift cups of coffee. In feudal Japan, those hands would blister within hours of labor. They would bleed in the fields. They would ache under the lash of bamboo rods if you failed to meet your lord's demand for rice taxes. Already, your body protests. Your legs feel the mud clinging to your ankles. Your lungs taste the smoke from small hearth fires, burning damp wood. And yet, this is only the beginning. Somewhere beyond the village lies a castle, looming like a silent guardian. Within it, a daimyo, one of the feudal lords, sits in quiet power, his sword never far from reach. Around him are retainers, men sworn by blood and by honor, ready to fight and die at a moment's notice. You would not be welcome there. Not without lineage, not without proof of loyalty. Even in the village, survival feels uncertain. You feel the eyes of peasants upon you, curious, but wary. Their lives are measured by rice harvests and seasons, by floods and famines. To them, you are nothing. To them, you are already out of place, and so, you walk on. The sun sets slowly over the rice fields, painting the water silver, then gold, then black. Lanterns flicker to life in the houses, glowing faintly like fireflies caught in wooden cages. A woman kneels by her doorway, folding fabric, her hands moving in a rhythm learned since childhood. A child coughs in the distance. A dog barks once, then quiets. The night is cold, much colder than you expect. The walls of the houses are thin, made of paper screens and wooden beams. You shiver, wrapping your arms around yourself. In your world, you would turn a knob, summon heat with the hum of electricity. Here, warmth is earned by firewood, and firewood is scarce. Your stomach growls. But food here is not easily shared with strangers. Meals are simple: rice, miso soup, perhaps a salted fish, if the river was kind that day. Most nights, the peasants eat little more than millet gruel. You imagine yourself trying to live on that, day after day, with the cold pressing into your bones, with your muscles sore from bending in the fields. Your body whispers the truth. You would not endure this life for long. Somewhere in the distance, a drum beats slowly, not for music, for warning. Perhaps a band of Ronin masterless samurai have been spotted, or perhaps the daimyo has called for a curfew. You do not know, but the beat quickens your pulse. You shrink closer to the shadow of a wall, realizing that in feudal Japan, the night is never entirely safe. Samurai patrols walk the streets, carrying torches and blades. Bandits roam the mountains. Justice here is swift, often brutal, and mercy is rare. You draw a breath, long and slow. You feel it fill your lungs, heavy as stone. This is only your first night, and already you know you would not survive in feudal Japan. The morning comes quietly, almost shyly. A pale light leaks through paper walls. You wake to the sound of sandals scuffing against dirt, to the murmur of men's voices outside. The air is colder than you expect for morning, damp enough to make your skin prickle. You sit up, but in this world, even the act of sitting feels like it should be done with care, because somewhere not too far away, there are men who notice every movement, men who live by rules older than memory, rules written not on paper, but in blood. These are the samurai. You've seen them before, in stories and films, armored figures, with blades shining under the sun, stoic faces, quiet power. But standing among them here in feudal Japan feels different. The air itself seems to bend around them, as though their presence alone commands space. A group passes by on horseback. Their armor clinks softly, the plates lacquered and tied with cords that sway like tassels. Their hands rest lightly on the hilts of their swords, though lightly here does not mean carelessly. At any moment, they could draw. At any moment, they could cut. You notice how the villagers lowered their eyes as the samurai pass. Nobody dares to look directly for too long. Nobody dares to speak unless spoken to. And you feel it in your chest, an unspoken command pressing down like a hand. Lower your gaze. But you are not used to this. In your world, you look people in the eye when you meet them. Here, that simple reflex could be seen as insolence, a challenge, a mistake that might end your life. You realize, slowly, that survival here is not just about food or warmth. It is about navigating a society bound by invisible threads, threads of honor, loyalty, and obedience. The samurai live by a code called Bushido, the way of the warrior. It is not written in neat lists or tidy commandments. It is lived, breathed, passed down through example and blood. Honor is everything. To lose it is worse than death. To preserve it, a man may cut down another in the street. To preserve it, he may cut down himself. You feel a weight in your stomach as you imagine it. The ritual of seppuku, final act of honor. A blade across the belly, a life spilled out in silence. Could you even imagine holding steady through such a thing? Your hands shake just at the thought. Already, you know your spirit would falter here. A boy runs past, carrying a wooden sword. His steps are clumsy, but his eyes are sharp, determined. Even from childhood, sons of the warrior class are trained for battle. Their bodies learn the rhythm of bow and blade, long before they learn the softness of comfort. You watch him swing, stumble, swing again, and you think of yourself at that age, playing with toys, watching screens, eating sweets. How different his world was. How much harder, sharper, heavier. The samurai's life may look glorious from a distance. Armor gleaming, banners flying, but up close, it is as fragile as rice paper. A single misstep, a single dishonor, and everything crumbles. Their loyalty to their daimyo is absolute. If commanded, they march into hopeless battle without hesitation. If dismissed, they lose not only their income but their very place in the order of things. Without a master, they become ronin, drifting, desperate, often feared, sometimes hated. You shift your weight where you stand. feeling how strange it would be to live under such pressure every day. Your modern mind rebels at the thought obedience without question, loyalty without pause, death without protest. You would not last an hour as a samurai, not with your habits, not with your freedom-loving spirit. One of them turns his head as he passes you. His face is calm, unreadable, but his eyes are sharp as steel. For a moment, you freeze. You wonder if you bowed correctly, if you stood in the wrong place, if some invisible line of respect has been crossed. But then he looks away. His horse trots forward. The tension loosens from your shoulders, but only slightly, because you know that in this world, one glance could change your fate. One glance could end you. The day stretches long. You watch as the samurai train in a clearing beyond the village. The sound of wooden swords striking echoes through the air like drums. Their movements are precise, economical, no wasted energy, no hesitation. They bow, strike, bow again. Even in practice, there is discipline. Even in sweat, there is honor. You try to imagine yourself among them, holding a sword, feeling its weight. Could you raise it against another? Could you swing it knowing that your own life balanced on the same edge? Your hands ache just thinking about it. Your breath grows shallow. You know the truth. You could not. As the sun begins to set, you see them return to the castle. Their banners flutter in the breeze, painted with the crest of their lord. The villagers step aside, bowing low, waiting for the dust to settle. And you, too, step aside. You lower your eyes. You press your palms together, not from habit, but from instinct. Because here, in the world of the samurai, survival is not about strength alone. It is about respect, about silence, about knowing your place, and never, ever stepping outside it. And as the castle gates close behind them, you feel the walls of that world close too. A world of swords and silence. A world where you would not survive. The sun rises higher, but warmth does not follow. Instead, the air is thick with mist, clinging to your hair, your sleeves, your breath. You find yourself following a narrow dirt path that winds out of the village, past wooden fences tied together with rope, toward the wide, flat fields beyond. At first glance, the rice paddies look beautiful. The water mirrors the sky, pale blue rippling with silver light. Birds skim across the surface, wings brushing against the reflection. For a moment, you almost forget yourself. You think, what a peaceful life this must be. But then you see the people, bent at the waist, knee-deep in mud. They move slowly, planting stalks one by one. Their backs curve like bowed branches. Their hands sink again and again into the cold water. The mud sucks at their legs, every step heavy, every movement deliberate. There is no laughter. There is no pause, only the endless rhythm of survival. A farmer glances up at you. His face is lined, sunken, older than his years. His straw hat drips with water. For a second, his eyes meet yours, and you see what life here has done, how it has carved him down to bone and muscle, how it has pressed him flat beneath the weight of duty. Then he looks away, and bends again. The truth sinks into your chest like a stone. This is not a peaceful life. This is a life of burden. The farmers of feudal Japan carried the entire nation on their backs. Every grain of rice was counted, measured, taxed. Their lord demanded quotas, no matter the weather, no matter the floods, no matter the drought. If the harvest failed, the people still owed. And if they could not give, punishment followed, sometimes a beating, sometimes starvation, sometimes worse. You watch as a boy no older than 12 splashes through the field, carrying a bundle of seedlings. His feet are small, bare, pale against the mud. He should be learning, laughing, playing. But here, childhood ends before it begins. Here, work claims you before you even understand what life is. Your shoulders ache just watching them. You imagine yourself stepping into that field, the mud rising around your calves, the sun beating down on your neck, your hands dipping again and again into cold water. Could you last a day? Could you last an hour? Your body whispers the answer. No, and yet these farmers did it every day, from dawn until dusk, season after season, year after year. Their muscles hardened, their skin cracked, their backs bent. They lived not for themselves, but for their Lord, for their families, for survival. You see a woman carrying 2 buckets balanced on a pole across her shoulders. The wood bites into her skin, leaving red grooves. She walks with measured steps, careful not to spill, careful not to waste a single drop. Her eyes are downcast, her breath slow, steady, resigned. Beside her, a little girl clings to her sleeve. The child's face is dirty, her hair tied in a loose knot. She coughs once, then again, her body small, fragile. And yet, no one stops working. No one has the luxury to pause. Illness is just another weight, carried in silence. The more you watch, the heavier it feels. The fields stretch far, farther than your eyes can follow, and with every bent back, every muddy hand, you see the truth of this life. It was not freedom. It was not peace. It was duty, inescapable and endless. A breeze carries the scent of sweat and damp straw. You shift your own weight, feeling how soft your body has grown, how unused you are to this kind of labor. Your palms itch at the thought of rope digging into them, of blisters blooming, of nails cracking under strain. You would not last here, not in this field, not with this burden. And beyond the labor itself, there was fear. The farmers never owned the land they worked. It belonged to the daimyo. Every stalk of rice belonged to him first. The farmers kept what was left, if anything remained at all. Sometimes they ate millet instead, leaving the rice for their lord, their children growing thin as the grain they could not touch. Hunger was a constant companion. You can almost feel it now, a hollow ache deep in your belly, sharper than any modern hunger you have known. The kind of hunger that bends the spine, that weakens the knees, that steals the color from your skin. And still, the work never stopped. As the sun reaches its peak, you see the farmers straighten, only for a moment. They wipe their foreheads, water dripping from their sleeves. A few sip from gourds, sharing what little they have. Then, without a word, they bend again. The rhythm continues. Plant, press, step, plant, press, step. You realize then, with a quiet certainty, why you would not survive in feudal Japan. Not because of the samurai's sword, not because of the Lord's command, but because of this. Because of the burden of work that never ends. The weight of hunger that never lifts. The silence of a life where every day is the same. Your shoulders slump, as if carrying the same pole, the same buckets. Your breath slows to match theirs, and you feel it in your bones. This world was not made for you. The farmers bend, and bend again. The fields stretch on, and the burden never lifts. The village begins to stir again, as the sun lowers toward the horizon. Smoke rises gently from the thatched rooftops, curling into the sky like thin threads of silk. The day's labor is not done, but it softens now. Tasks move from the fields to the homes. From bending in the mud to bending by firelight. You follow the sound of footsteps, weaving through narrow lanes. Children run barefoot across the dirt, their laughter light but fleeting, as if even play must be quick before chores call them back. A woman kneels at a wooden tub, scrubbing clothes against a smooth stone, her arms moving in a steady rhythm. Beside her, an old man weaves straw into sandals. His fingers cracked, his eyes clouded but focused. This is the life of the peasants and artisans. It is not glamorous. It is not free. But it is the heartbeat of feudal Japan. You pause by a small hut where the smell of miso soup drifts through the doorway. Inside, a family gathers around a low hearth. The fire crackles softly, warming a pot that hangs above it. The light flickers against their faces, faces thin, worn, but alive. A bowl of rice is set down, carefully divided, each portion small. A salted fish, rare and precious, is shared in pieces no larger than a fingertip. You feel your own stomach tighten. In your world, meals arrive in abundance, wrapped, delivered, ordered at a whim. Here, every bite is earned, every grain is measured, and waste is unthinkable. If you were given a bowl here, you would have to eat slowly, reverently, carefully. You would not dare to leave a single grain behind. Outside, the artisans work in small sheds. One hammers at iron, sparks leaping in the dim light. His arms move with practiced strength, each strike ringing out like a slow heartbeat. Another carves wood, his knife gliding over the grain, shaping it into a tool, a bucket, perhaps even a toy. Their work is steady, endless, uncelebrated, and yet, without them, life would collapse. Without the blacksmith, there would be no plows, no nails, no swords. Without the carpenter, no beams to hold the houses, no buckets to carry water. The artisans lived in a quiet space between honor and burden, between necessity and invisibility. They were needed, but not revered. You step further into the lane and notice how small the houses truly are. A single room, walls of wood and paper, floors of straw mats. No locks, no glass, no privacy. Families slept side by side, bodies curled close in the cold. In winter, frost clung to the walls. In summer, heat pressed down through the roof. There was no escape. Your own body aches at the thought. The softness you know of mattresses, of blankets, of cushions has no place here. Instead, you would sleep on woven straw, your head on a wooden block, the night air cutting through the thin walls. Could you rest? Could you wake without pain? Your spine shivers in answer. As night deepens, lanterns glow in the village. Shadows stretch long across the ground. You see a group of peasants sitting together, their voices low, their laughter faint, but real. For a moment, it looks like peace. For a moment, it looks like joy. But beneath it is always the weight of tomorrow, another dawn, another day of labor, another season of uncertainty. The artisans, too, rest, their tools laid aside. Their hands are rough, scarred, shaped by decades of work. You glance at your own again, soft, untested, and you know you could not match theirs, not their patience, not their resilience. And then comes the winter. The villagers speak of it quietly, but you can almost feel it in the air, the cold that creeps through cracks, the hunger that sharpens with every passing night. Food stores dwindle, fires burn low, children cough in the dark, their breath misting in the freezing rooms. Even the strong grow weaker, their bodies leaner, their eyes hollow. You close your eyes for a moment, and you can almost hear it, the silence of winter nights, broken only by wind against the walls, by the slow creak of wood, by the empty rumble of stomachs. Could you survive that? Your body knows the answer. You would wither, you would fade, and yet they endured. The peasants, the artisans, the ones history often forgets. They carried on, season after season, building a life not of luxury, but of survival. They bent, but they did not break. You, on the other hand, you would not last a week in their place. The fire in the hearth flickers low. The family inside the hut leans closer together, their breaths steady, their eyes half closed. Their world is small, but their endurance is vast. You feel yourself exhale, long and slow, your own body swaying as though it shares their fatigue, and you understand now. To live as they lived was not simply hard, it was almost impossible for someone like you. The path out of the village grows wider, smoother. The earth here is packed more firmly, as though pressed by the weight of many horses, many sandals, many carts. You follow it upward, your breath slowing as the ground tilts beneath your feet, and then you see it, rising above the trees, Framed by the evening sky is the silhouette of a castle. Its walls are layered stone, stacked with patience and precision. Its towers stretch like watchful eyes. White plaster walls gleam faintly, catching the last light of day. The rooftops curl upward, like the tips of wings, each tile neat, heavy, immovable. It is beautiful, and it is terrifying. You pause, because your body knows, before your mind does, this is not a place for you. This is not a home, nor a refuge. This is a fortress, a symbol, a trap for anyone who does not belong. At the gates, samurai stand guard, their armor catching the torchlight. Their faces are unreadable, their hands resting on the hilts of their swords. Every passerby bows low before stepping past. Every cart is checked. Every gesture is measured. You hesitate, because you do not know the rules here and in this world. Not knowing is dangerous. Inside, the courtyards are wide, the air heavy with silence. The castle looms above, but it is not the stone you feel pressing down. It is the weight of power. The daimyo lives here, the lord of the domain. His word is law. His banner flies above the towers, painted with the crest of his clan. Every farmer's harvest, every artisan's tool, every soldier's loyalty flows upward to him, as steady and unrelenting as a river. You imagine stepping into his hall, tatami mats stretching beneath your feet, sliding paper screens opening to reveal a man seated at the far end, still as stone. His robes layered, his hair tied, his sword always within reach. You bow low, lower still till your forehead almost touches the floor. Even then, you wonder if it would be enough. The daimyo does not smile. He does not need to. His power is not in his expression, but in the quiet around him, in the men who kneel at his side, in the soldiers who would die at his command. One wrong word from your lips, one slip of your tongue, and you could be cast out or cut down before the echo faded. Your chest tightens as you realize you could never navigate this world of politics, of ritual, of perfect obedience. You are too used to speaking freely, too used to questioning, too used to choice. Here, choice is a blade, and it cuts quickly. Outside the hall, the castle life hums like a quiet machine. Servants move with swift, careful steps, carrying trays of food, jugs of water, scrolls of paper. Each one bows as they pass, each one silent. To stumble here is not simply clumsy, it is shameful. To speak out of turn is not simply rude, it is dangerous. The women of the castle, too, live by rules that would crush you. Their lives are arranged by rank, by duty, by the unseen threads of alliance and expectation. A daughter may be sent in marriage not for love, but for politics. A widow may live in seclusion, her days folded into prayers. Even in beauty, there is no freedom here. You feel your throat dry. In your world, walls are meant to protect, but here, the walls of the castle feel like chains. They keep enemies out, yes, but they also keep everyone within. Every gate is watched. Every word is measured. Even the daimyo himself is never truly free. His power is vast, but fragile, always threatened by rivals, always tested by shifting alliances. You imagine the night inside these walls. Lanterns flicker against painted screens. Servants whisper as they carry trays down long corridors. Outside, guards patrol with torches, their shadows sliding over stone. Somewhere, a samurai kneels in meditation, his blade across his lap, his mind still but ready. And yet, beyond the silence, there is tension. Always tension. At any moment, the castle could become a battlefield. At any moment, a rival clan could storm the gates, or a rebellion could rise from within. You press your palms against your knees, feeling the tremor there. This life is not calm. This power is not secure. To live in a castle is to live in constant readiness, your body tight, your mind sharp, your loyalty unquestioned. Could you endure that? Could you sleep beneath a roof that might be set ablaze tomorrow? Could you rest, knowing enemies watched from the mountains? Your breath falters. The answer settles heavy in your chest. No, the castle stands still above the village, glowing faintly in the moonlight. From a distance, it looks serene, like a painting. But you have seen now what lies inside, the weight of ritual, the suffocation of power, the fragility of peace, and you know, deep in your bones, that this is another place where you would not survive. The night grows darker, the air thicker. You hear nothing now but the faint chorus of crickets and the distant bark of a dog. Lanterns glow faintly in the village, small pockets of light against the vastness of shadow. You sit close to the earth, feeling the cool dampness seep through your clothes, and you begin to realize this world was not only hard through labor, not only harsh through hunger. It was fragile in ways that touched every breath, every heartbeat, because here, life itself was not guaranteed. A child coughs in the dark, the sound sharp and hollow. The mother presses a cloth to the child's lips, but there is little she can do. There are no doctors waiting in bright rooms, no medicines sealed in bottles, no pharmacies glowing at night. Illness is met with prayers, herbs, and hope. Sometimes, the body recovers. Often, it does not. You picture yourself catching a fever here, your body burning hot, sweat soaking through thin straw mats. Your throat dry, your breath shallow. There is no medicine to soothe you, no clean water to cool you. Your neighbors might fear to come close, afraid of catching whatever illness you carry. You would lie alone, waiting, hoping, trembling. Could you endure that? Your pulse answers. No, and disease was not the only shadow. The punishments of feudal Japan, too, were swift and merciless. The order of society was strict, and to break it was to invite pain. Imagine this. You speak out of turn to a samurai, perhaps without malice, perhaps just from habit. But here, words weigh heavily. His hand falls to his sword, a flash of steel. A silence afterward that feels louder than any scream. Your life could end in that instant, not from battle, not from crime, but from a simple mistake. Even lesser crime, stealing, resisting. Disobedience brought punishments that your body shivers to imagine. Beatings, mutilations, public shame. The rulers believed that order was fragile, and so punishment was not just about the guilty, was about the watching crowd, about teaching fear. You walk slowly down a narrow road and see a wooden post at the edge of the village. Ropes dangle from it. Dark stains mark the ground beneath. You do not ask what happened here, you already know. And your legs feel heavy, as if the memory of someone else's pain has pressed itself into your own bones. In this world, survival was not just about labor. It was about silence, about caution, about living so carefully that you did not stumble into punishment. Could you live like that? Every step measured, every word weighed? Your chest tightens at the thought. And then there is hunger, once again. In years of poor harvest, famine stalked the villages. People boiled bark from trees, chewed on roots, stretched thin soups until they were little more than water. Starvation left bodies hollow, eyes dim. Parents gave food to their children and went hungry themselves. Some never rose from their mats again. Your stomach knots as you imagine the ache of such hunger. Not the hunger you know, brief, inconvenient, soon fed, but the hunger that gnaws day after day, stripping away flesh, stealing away strength, leaving only weakness behind. Could you survive a winter like that? Your own body whispers no. And beyond disease, beyond punishment, beyond hunger, there was war. Armies marching, fires burning, villages destroyed. You can almost hear it in the distance. Now the echo of drums, the clatter of armor, the cries that split the night. For the peasants, war was not glory. It was terror. It was the sudden loss of crops, of homes, of lives. You draw your knees to your chest, holding yourself tighter, feeling how small you would be in such a storm. In your own world, war is far distant, often only seen on glowing screens. Here, It would march into your village, take your food, burn your house, demand your life. You would not survive that, and yet, somehow, they did. The people of feudal Japan endured these trials. They bent beneath them, but did not break. They buried their dead and rose again to work the fields. They faced famine and still planted for the next season. They lived under the shadow of punishment and still carried on with quiet dignity. You, however, you know your truth, your body soft, your voice too free, your mind too unaccustomed to silence and restraint. You would fall ill, and there would be no medicine. You would speak wrong, and there would be no mercy. You would starve, and there would be no relief. And in the face of it all, you would fade. The night deepens. The stars stretch endlessly above, ancient and cold. The wind rattles the thin walls of the huts, whispering through cracks. A baby whimpers, then quiets. A dog curls tighter in the dirt, and you sit, still, silent, breathing slowly, knowing that survival here was not just difficult, it was almost impossible. The night is nearly gone now. The faintest glow of dawn trembles on the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of gray and pale blue. You feel your breath slow, your eyes heavy, as though you have walked the long, weary path of centuries yourself. And now, at the end of this journey, you understand, you know, in your body, in your bones, why you would not last here. In feudal Japan, it is not only the hunger, though hunger would hollow you. It is not only the cold, though the winters would bite deep into your flesh. It is not only the punishments, swift and merciless, though they would silence your voice. It is the weight of it altogether. The endless work that bends the back until it no longer straightens. The silence demanded by those above you. Silence so deep it feels like a hand pressed against your mouth. The fragility of health. The cruelty of chance. The thin thread of survival stretched too tight. Your modern body, softened by comforts. Your modern mind, restless with freedoms. Your modern heart, unaccustomed to silence and submission. They would all betray you here. You picture yourself at dawn, standing in a rice field with mud sucking at your ankles. The air is cool, the sky vast. Around you, peasants move with steady rhythm, hands practiced, motions efficient. They do not complain. They do not question. They do not pause. But you, your arms ache quickly. Your legs stiffen. Your mind wanders. You glance up at the mountains, wondering what lies beyond them, and in that small moment of distraction, you fall behind. The overseer notices. His eyes narrow. You feel the weight of judgment pressing onto your shoulders. Could you survive that constant demand for obedience, for stillness, for labor beyond exhaustion? No. You imagine a feast in the castle halls. Samurai sit tall, their armor gleaming in the torchlight. They speak in clipped tones, their words heavy with rank and ritual. One misstep, one wrong gesture, and steel could flash. You, untrained, untaught in their ways, would not last an hour here. No, you imagine winter nights, the hut cold, the fire weak, your stomach empty, your hands trembling, the sound of coughing in the corner, someone fading. You close your eyes, wishing for warmth, for medicine, for comfort, but none comes. Could you survive such nights, one after another, month after month? No doubt, and yet the people who lived here did. They endured it all. They bore the weight of hunger, the lash of punishment, the silence of submission. They carried it with them through the centuries, shaping a culture of resilience, of discipline, of quiet strength. You admire them now, deeply, silently, because survival here was not weakness, it was a triumph of body, of will, of endurance. But you are only a visitor, and visitors rarely last. The dawn light grows stronger. The world of feudal Japan fades slowly from your mind, slipping away like a dream. The huts blur, the fields soften, the samurai dissolve into mist. You are left only with the memory Of them their burdens, their strength, their silence. Your eyes grow heavier. Your breathing steadies. The story has carried you, step by step, across centuries, across struggles, across lives. And now it has laid you gently down again, safe in your own world, your own time. You would not survive in feudal Japan, but you have survived the telling of it, and that is enough. Close your eyes now. Let the weight of history drift away. Let the calm settle into your body, your chest, your bones. Sleep, knowing you have walked through another world and returned